Welcome to A&B Horror Movies. I'm Aaron, and I'm very excited to be joined today by the legendary George Mihalka. George, welcome.
Thank you. Very nice to be here.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait to chat with you about your very impressive career in film and television because you directed the classic horror film My Bloody Valentine from 1981. So, congratulations on creating a film that has longevity and people are still talking about it today.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Bloody Valentine, I just want to list out some of the films and series you've worked on because, like I said, it's very impressive what you've accomplished. So, you also directed Ominous, Black Christmas Party, Faith, Fraud, and Minimum Wage, Cruel and Unusual, Relative Fear, La Florida, The Psychic, The Office Party, Eternal Evil, and Pickup Summer, and many more. But I just wanted to name a few from your incredible resume. Takes you back, I would guess. And then for
Yes, it does.
series, for series, you worked on 24-Hour Rental, Lost Girl, Da Vinci's Inquest, The Transporter, King, The Firm, Race to Mars, The Hitchhiker, which was one of my favorite shows. So I have to ask you a few questions about that. The Street, Crossbow, TNT with Mr. T, and many more. So again,
Yep.
congratulations. It's going to
Well,
be it's an honor and it's going to be fantastic to chat with you today.
thank you
So
very
my
much.
Of course, of course. So my first question for you before we talk about My Bloody Valentine is how did you get into film and filmmaking? I thought we'd start with sort of a general question. So what inspired you early on? And I guess taking it one step further, what inspires you today when it comes to creating new
Well,
projects?
well, filmmaking was a little bit of a, I guess, a left turn when I didn't expect to turn left. Um,
Happens to the
um,
best of us, but may perhaps
when
even
when
better
I
for
when
you. But
Yeah,
go
when
ahead.
I arrived
Mhm.
in Quebec, I was nine and a half years old, and
Okay.
I didn't speak English or French. And back in those days, um, basically, there was no real support for refugees or immigrants. Um,
Okay.
the kids in school, you got stuck. You sat in the back of the class and you stared.
Mhm.
And you got ignored and you
Must-
failed and you went back again and then slowly you start learning the language. But
Oh
anyway,
my gosh.
um,
Yeah.
so I just ended up observing and doing nothing but doodling and drawing. And then um, my parents were quite the bookworms, and they had an extensive library in Hungarian. So I
Hmm.
just read all their books, not really realizing that I was reading the Hungarian translation of The Heart of Darkness or things
Oh,
like that. So like at the age of 10, I'm reading Heart of Darkness. And then I realized last year of high school, as we're reading Heart of Darkness now in English, I think I know what the story's about.
you're like, this
You know,
seems
yeah,
familiar.
this is very familiar. So anyway, so all that. Um, so I was going to end up becoming I wanted to become a literature teacher, an English literature teacher.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
so,
I went to college for English, so I can relate.
so yeah, you can relate. Then excellent.
Yes, yes,
So
you're in good
anyway,
company.
and so I was studying, taking my degree in English, but I did a
Mhm.
minor in the philosophy of science. Um, and in the philosophy of science course, there was a couple of the courses where you could do a video as opposed to a paper.
Yep.
Now, I've never done videos before, but I like photography. I like taking pictures. I like drawing. So I said, well, I'll give video a shot, see how that works. And it was the time when Portapaks, the black and white reel-to-reel video machines, were just coming out. So I I did a couple of projects or papers, homework on video, and really
Hmm.
enjoyed it. Uh, at this point, my roommate, Rodney Gibbons, um, was studying film at the same university as I was studying um, my my English and my philosophy of science.
Hmm.
Uh, he was in the film department, and he was also working as a um, assistant cameraman for the National Film Board. Anyhow, to make a long
Okay. Oh,
story
wow.
short, uh, I ended up taking a master's program in educational technology, where now I could use the video knowledge I've learned about doing videos and start doing educational videos. So Rodney used to help me out with those, and I'd help out with the films.
Hmm.
Um, one day, the head of the fine arts department, film, John Locke, came to me and said, "You know, Mihalka, I've got a problem with you." And I said, "Well, why would you have a problem with me?" He says, "Well, you know, Gibbons here is making a lot of movies. Your name appears on it. You guys keep winning awards, and
Oh
you're
my
not a member
gosh.
of this. And you're not a member of this department. So how can we change that?" So,
It was
uh,
meant to be.
yeah. So he offered me a possibility of not having to do any of the prerequisites and to start off in year 3 of the program.
Oh,
So
wow. That's
that's how
fantastic.
that's
So
how I ended up, and that's how I ended up in making films.
I love that. So it wasn't
Yeah,
really your calling, but you started to do that one project, and then the next thing you
yeah.
knew,
Well,
things were
I mean,
happening. Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed, I mean, somehow or other, like I said, I've always done photography. I've always done, I painted, drew,
Hmm.
and so the actual taking the image was something that really excited me about it. And I was at one point going to be more of the technical um, person, and Rodney was going to be doing more of the directing.
Okay.
But um, what happened was I had a experience in speaking in front of people, obviously, because by that
Hmm.
time I was also teaching English literature in the high school while I was doing my master's degree.
Oh, wow.
Um, so um, so I had some experience in talking in front of a class and being able to
Yes.
say, you know, 5 of you stand over there, 5 of you stand over there when I say go
Yes.
across the room. So
Yeah.
so I ended up, as we got more and more complicated in our shots, I ended up
Hmm.
doing more of the directing. So instead of a camera person, I became the director, and Rodney became my DOP for the next 2 features we did together.
Wow. Wow. I love the evolution. That's fantastic. Do you still keep in touch with Rodney?
Yes, matter of fact, we're still dear friends. Um,
Amazing.
we live about, I guess, about 400 miles apart. He's still in Montreal. I don't live in Montreal anymore. I live outside of Toronto. But
Okay.
I visit there a lot, and we go out and play golf and or watch hockey games together. You know,
That's
we're still
fantastic.
like we're still like if it was the first day we met.
Oh my gosh, I love that. What an amazing introduction. So I've got to ask you about My Bloody Valentines, of course. You were 27 years old when you filmed this. Actually, before I do that, I just want to show, I mean, I love this film. And the fact that we're still getting new editions coming out. We've
Yeah,
got a 4K copy. I've got the Blu-ray here. This fantastic steelbook from Scream Factory. I don't know
yeah.
if you've seen all of
I
these.
love that one.
And I still have my original DVD of My Bloody Valentine.
Right.
I almost dropped them, but anyways,
Yeah.
congratulations
Apparently, there's a
on
new
this
one.
film. And oh,
Yeah.
there's a new one coming
Apparently,
out.
there's a new 4K that's being released through Australia, from what I understand. But
Oh, I'll have
Uh,
to get a copy.
it's not
I've
100%. They just reached out to me about doing a commentary, but
even
nothing
better.
is really. So I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, well,
but
I'm all about
those are the
physical
rumors.
media. So yeah, so I'll
Yeah.
stay tuned for that. So my question for you is, how did you get involved with My Bloody Valentine, to kick things off? And did you ever think that you'd still be talking about this film and Harry Warden decades later?
Uh, One, again, very indirectly, how
Yes.
I got involved. And two, if you would have told me 45 years ago that, you know, the movie that I made when I was 27 years old would still
Mhm.
be um, not only that, but more popular now than ever before, I'd say you're out of your mind. But uh,
Yes.
there you go.
But
So
how awesome is that? But yeah, go
it
ahead.
is. It is.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, Basically, um, I don't know if I guess some people might, but Canada had this fabulous independent production distribution company called Cinepix.
Mhm.
Cinepix was sort of John Dunning and Andre Link. They were Canada's Roger Corman. Uh, they they produced David Cronenberg's first two films, Shivers and Rabid.
Mhm.
Um, they produced um, Ivan Reitman's Death Weekend. They produced Meatballs.
Classic.
Uh,
Yes.
they produced My Bloody Valentine. They produced Happy Birthday to Me.
Mhm.
Uh, they produced some of Quebec's biggest French language hits. Um, so anyway, I made a little movie called Pinball Summer in Quebec the year before, and that was a made-for drive-in movie. Uh, in the United States, obviously, they had to change the name to Pickup Summer for some reason, but that's what they did. Why
Yes.
not?
And that's what's
Uh,
on IMDb, right?
yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Anyhow, uh, the film had great um, financial success. Uh, it got sold all over the world. Um, the strength of that uh, brought my name up to John Dunning and Andre Link. John and Andre were always looking to see who the next new, uh,
Sure.
as they said, the next new young kid they could exploit. You know, uh,
And you were next in line, but
I was next in line.
fortuitously
So
so.
yeah. So anyway, so they offered me a two-picture deal. Um, the first picture being a comedy
Mhm.
because Pinball Summer was a comedy. They just they were riding high on the success of Meatballs. Um, Comedy was in,
Mhm.
horror was out. Um, so, and I also had connections with some of the guys at the National Lampoon.
Oh yeah.
Um, so this was going to be a very funny movie called Stitches about um, sort of a satire, a hospital rom-com satire. Yeah,
Okay.
really dirty and really nasty and funny. You know,
Sounds like it.
only,
Yes,
only
yes.
yeah, only the way National Lampoon could do it.
Of course.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but what happened was our head writer um, ended up suffering a bit of a nervous breakdown and ended
Oh
up
gosh.
delivering something like an 800-page screenplay. I mean, literally, it was thicker than a telephone book. And
Oh my.
John Dunning said to me, George, I'm not going to be able to finish reading this before we were supposed to finish shooting this.
Oh my God.
Uh, you know, we're not going to be doing this. How would you like to do your second movie first? I said, what do you mean my second movie first? So he handed me a page, a uh,
Like a
one side,
summary
one
or
page
yeah.
of a story outline of a story called The Secret, which was basically the outline for My Bloody Valentine. And he said, um, "This, if you're interested, this could be your second movie." And I said, "Well, John, I've never done a horror picture before." To which John, with a sly grin on his face, replied, "You've never done a comedy before you made one." So, so he talked me into it. So
That's fantastic.
um,
Yeah.
we sat down, we talked a little bit about it.
Hmm.
Within a week, Baird, fabulous, talented young writer from LA, came up, and him and I sort of um, lashed out and worked out the overall storyline. And while he
Okay.
was writing the first draft of the screenplay, Bob Presner, the line producer, and I went out to Nova Scotia, starting to scout to find a mine that we could shoot this in
Mhm.
because we had no time. This was July already.
Okay. So it was all happening really fast, it sounds like,
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, because the problem was that this movie had to be in the theaters by next February.
for Valentine's. Yeah.
But yeah, but not only that, back in those days, um, you had to create um, screening prints.
Hmm.
Those screening prints would be printed at a laboratory. We were
Right.
opening in 1,200 theaters.
And then sent
It
out
was,
to each theater, right? Each
yeah,
theater would get their
that
own.
takes at least three
Right.
weeks to get that done. So we had to have
Okay.
a finished film delivered by the 20th of January.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So a little bit of
And we
pressure,
and
to
at the
say
end
the
of
least.
July,
Yeah.
we had nothing. We had a one page. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
So you were closely involved with the script writing and the story development. Is that
Yeah, yeah.
accurate?
So
Yep.
yeah, so basically, by the time we came back after scouting the locations,
Hmm.
um, we had a first draft. We read the first draft. We explained what we found with the locations and what we could use as part of the kills and part of the I guess the action, the adventure, and
Okay.
then we repolished the screenplay with those details in mind.
Awesome.
Then we went back and we started shooting.
Wow. That happened so fast. When you mentioned the
Yeah.
mine, so scouting locations to find the mine, what was it like filming in a real mine? And how much of it was movie magic, let's say, where you reused different tunnels and different angles,
Well,
different shots?
a lot of it, basically, shooting in a mine didn't seem that complicated until after we arrived, and our hosts, I mean, this mine was decommissioned about 6 months before we shot there, so it was still pretty well a working mine.
Okay. So safe, at least the safe environment,
Well, in that
mostly.
in that sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, the elevators worked, the carts worked,
Hmm.
the lights worked, everything worked. Um, the one thing they didn't tell us, those lovely people, because I mean they wanted us there. They kind of neglected to tell us that we couldn't use movie lights in the mine. We could only use 25-watt um, safety bulbs.
How come?
Uh, little something called methane gas.
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Boom.
Basically, uh, a coal face gives off methane gas. Now,
Yes.
mines have chimneys, just basically just air
To
vents.
vent the
Yeah,
gas. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But now what happens um, under um, a low pressure system
Hmm.
is the atmosphere weighs on the chimney, doesn't allow the methane to disappear. There's a methane buildup. There's a spark. There's a boom.
Very
So
bad. You don't want
a
that.
very bad boom. Yeah. We
Yeah.
don't
Oh
want
my
we don't
gosh.
want those kind of booms. So basically, that meant that we now had to scramble and try to figure out how to shoot in the mine, because in those days the fastest film stock, which we were obviously going to be using,
Mhm.
is 5247, which was 125 ASA, which is nothing compared to stuff right now. You
Today,
know?
yeah. Yes.
uh, so at 25, with the 25-watt bulbs, we could only get enough light to shoot at 1.1 and still had to push the stock by one stop.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay.
so now what that meant was we ended up having to use the same lenses that Stanley Kubrick used and Barry Lyndon,
Mm.
because they had those special lenses made for him, um,
Okay.
because he was shooting Barry Lyndon on with with candlelight, uh,
Yes.
which meant now that we had to use Panavision equipment instead of the smaller and more agile area equipment that we
So
used to use. And
larger equipment,
yeah,
small space.
yeah, big Panavision cameras,
I
right?
see where you're going
Uh,
with
you
that.
know,
Yes.
uh, and then we still had to send the stock to the one laboratory in the United States which could
Mm.
uh, chemically push the film stock by one stop and
Okay.
actually give us a proper image. So basically, what we did was we'd shoot.
Mhm.
That negative would then fly from Halifax. First, it would be driven 6 hours to Halifax. From there, it would be
Oh my
flown to New
gosh.
York City. The negative would then be developed, pushed and developed in the chemtone process in New York City. That negative would then be sent to Montreal to our head office, where that negative would then be printed into a work print, which would then be screened by the producers and then packaged off and sent to me back in Cape Breton Island. So basically, what I shot on a Monday, I was lucky to see on the Friday or Saturday.
I was
So I
just
was
going to
basically
ask, yeah, how long did you have
shooting
to
blind,
wait?
shooting blind.
Shooting blind. Oh,
Yeah.
um, do you think I guess the environment and the circumstances that prevented you from using the lighting that you planned to, do you think it created a nicer effect ultimately in the
Oh
film?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I think
yeah.
so too,
I
of
mean,
course.
basically, I mean, both Rodney and I, what we wanted to do with this film was
Mhm.
um, what we jokingly called um, the deer hunter of horror films, the
I
deer hunter
see.
of slashers.
Yeah, of
We
course.
loved we loved Vilma Zsigmond and his
Yep.
lighting style. So
Mhm.
this allowed
Mhm.
us to shoot this is what Vilma Zsigmond used to shoot. He used to
Okay.
shoot at
Okay.
that low light. So it actually made us work harder in getting that look, which, to an extent, I'm very pleased with. Just recently, I was at a screening where we screened the new 4K remastered
Mhm.
version,
Yes.
and
And
somebody
what did you
came to me,
think?
you
Yeah,
know, oh, great work job.
it
Somebody
looks
came to
awesome.
me and said,
Mhm.
it doesn't it doesn't look like a movie made in 1980. It looks like a modern movie that's a period piece. So
Mhm.
that's the best compliment I could get. You
Yeah, I
know,
completely
that,
agree. The
that
transfer
it
is
looks like
amazing.
it could have been
Yeah.
shot yesterday, but it's a period piece. You know,
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic and spot on. And I think um, everyone who views it as a nostalgic film, I think the 4K transfer, it's like rewatching it again for the first time while still retaining those nostalgic elements. So
mhm.
very, very well done and an awesome addition there. So,
Yeah, they did a great job.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between, actually, before we get to that, I understand that you had to cut a lot from My Bloody Valentine, 10 minutes worth of material, and you were able to discover, or rediscover some of that, but there is footage that is lost and lost forever, as I
Yeah.
understand it.
Well, I
Can you
mean,
speak
basically,
to like what was lost, or are we talking full scenes or snippets of scenes?
uh, everything from whole scenes
Mm,
to ending of scenes to the actual gore or special effect of a scene. Uh, basically,
that's too
we
bad.
early January, while I was in a mixing studio in Toronto,
Mhm.
and Rich Wallace, our editor, took the work print down, the locked picture work print down to LA to screen it for the Motion Picture Association of America. Um, and basically, it left the Motion Picture Association and Jack Valenti breathless.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know if it's true or not, but at one point, somebody told me, Jack Valenti basically said, tell those Canadians to take their fucking film and go home.
Mm.
Uh, you know,
That's
uh,
unfortunate.
yeah, I mean, we tried something, you know, uh, almost every one of those effects in Bloody Valentine was a
Mhm.
one shot effect. So it's, and to do that analog, to do that practical and analog took a
Yeah.
lot of time, a lot of money. And so when all of a sudden Valenti wants us to cut stuff out, it became very difficult to cut stuff out. Uh, so we
Mhm.
lost a lot of material because I just had to cut the whole thing out.
You had to do it. Yeah.
You know,
Oh, that's
uh,
that's tragic.
you know. So then we lost all that footage, and
Mm.
I jokingly kept saying, we died the death of a thousand cuts because they would come back the next day and say, well, cut just a little more of this scene and cut just a little more of that scene
Mm.
and cut a little more of that scene. This went on for a week
Oh my
until
gosh.
literally at one point I said to all of my colleagues, I guess we're now working on my anemic Valentine, not my bloody Valentine, you know. Um,
Oh, I shouldn't laugh. That's tragic.
But it is what
But
happens.
yeah.
So I mean, basically, they threatened to give us an X rating, which would have meant, instead of 1,200 theaters, and
Mm.
Paramount would have lost a ton of money, and it would have been shown in like,
Yeah.
100 porno theaters.
Mm.
You know. Uh,
Yeah, I
so
could see when
anyway,
you're presented with a decision like that, of course
but
you have to
Paramount, I
cut
mean,
or yeah.
look, the million, to make a 1,200 work prints and
Mhm.
to transport them all over North America is a couple of $1 million.
Absolutely.
So Paramount was already very pregnant with a
Yeah.
lot of money. You know,
Yes. And
uh,
heavily
they
invested
were
in.
not going to do that. They were just going to, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, so there was not much. There's not much fight because again, the problem
Mhm.
was we were so tied into um, February 13th, Friday, February 13th,
Mhm.
1981 was the release date. We were so
Yes.
tied into that release date. It wasn't like we could release a Bloody Valentine movie in July.
And yeah, like a
Any other
summer
horror film,
blockbuster, right?
yeah, any other horror film, it would have been easy, but you can't,
Mhm. Mhm.
My Bloody
Yes. Yes.
Valentine, opening on May 15th would just not have flown
No,
properly.
it doesn't
No.
quite have the same
Yeah,
draw, I
exactly.
would say. I would say.
Exactly.
Well, I could go on talking with you about My Bloody Valentine for hours, but I do want to be respectful of your time. Um, I have to ask you at least one question about the Hitchhiker, the HBO series in the 80s, because I absolutely loved that show. And you directed two episodes of that,
Yeah.
back-to-back episodes. My question for you is, well, first, what was it like working on that series? And do you approach, or did you approach working on series versus films any differently, from a director's perspective?
Um, well, first of all, working on The Hitchhiker was just a ton of fun,
Yeah.
uh, especially shooting it in Paris. You
Oh,
know,
nice. Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
So you know, um, shooting it in Paris. I mean, we actually shot in Père Lachaise, the the cemetery where
Uh,
how do you call
Jim
it? Jim Morrison's buried.
Jim Morrison's
Yeah,
buried. Yes.
yeah. So we
Hmm.
actually faked Jim Morrison's grave in this film.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
And we
that's
shot
so cool.
underneath the
Hmm.
Sacré-Cœur, and
Hmm.
we had the beautiful carousel. So it was just wonderful. But no, I've never treated television any differently. Um, one of the things when I started doing a lot of television in Quebec with Scoop and so on, they used to say in those days I was making cinema for TV. Um,
Hmm.
I've always shot television with as much care for composition as I did for any of the films that I've ever made.
That's fantastic. And I think the final product shows all the love and attention that you put into, um, all of your work. And
Well, thank you.
yes, just wanted to say one last time, I love My Bloody Valentine, but I also love the Hitchhiker show. Um, Like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but before we get to the this or that segment, which I gave you a little bit of a warning about, I understand that you were a professor for a number of years and worked with young directors. So my question for you is, what advice do you have for aspiring and up and coming directors working in the industry or creating independent films?
Well, I mean, if you're working in the industry, then there's not much advice I can give you because you already got it.
You
But
got it, yeah.
uh, you know, but I mean, for any young filmmaker, the advice that I can give is the advice that my film professor gave me, which
Mhm.
is if you want to direct films, then you must direct. So
Yeah.
do whatever you can to direct. Do shoot a 30-second something on your phone. Do not ever stop creating an image or creating a story.
Mhm.
Learn how to tell a story. It's you know, it's not filmmaking is not only about pretty pictures. Filmmaking
Yeah.
is about telling a story
Mhm.
because um, a good story with good acting, I can shoot against a brick wall with a bare light bulb, and it'll still be a good film. You
Yes.
know, but um, no story, bad acting. It doesn't matter how pretty it is; it'll still be a bad film. So that's the
Regardless.
other
Yeah.
thing I would say to young filmmakers is, and
Yeah.
don't ever let perfection get in the way of very good.
Mm.
Because you'll never finish your film.
I love that.
Move on,
Keep
make
creating,
another one.
and then move on to something else and keep creating. That's
Yeah.
fantastic advice. Um, Lastly, do you have any thoughts on the current state of horror? Because when My Bloody Valentine came out in the 80s, it was sort of an explosion of horror movies. Um, I'd like to think that we're sort of in the midst of that now. Perhaps we'll look back on this decade and think, wow, there were so many horror movies coming out. It really was game changing.
Yeah.
What is your take
Well,
on what's happening now with horror?
no, I think horror's got a new respect. For a long time,
Mhm.
horror was not respected. Uh,
Absolutely.
it was it was sort of the poor cousin of the B movie circuit, even.
Hmm.
You know, um,
Hmm.
and you know, young filmmakers, some of them, older ones, um, horror has become a way of telling stories that are not just about gore. Um, I loved what's the trilogy with the girl, the porn X, was it?
Oh yeah, X, Pearl, and
That's yeah, yeah,
I forget what's the other one called. I
yeah.
forget. Yeah, yeah,
Love that trilogy.
yeah.
Love
Me
that.
too. That's so
You know,
good.
yeah.
And
But
and great.
and then you got
Yeah.
Skinamarink, which is very good, and and
Mhm.
Violent Nature was amazing. Uh,
Yeah, so good. Yes, I love that too. Um, I just watched The Presence recently, and I thought that was a really smart take on
yes, it was.
uh
It's funny. I just watched
you
that
saw
2 weeks ago.
yeah,
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 and I
like the
went, "Wow, that
perspective
was
of the
cool."
ghost.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
Skinamarink, right? They do like the ceiling. I could just point my point, and
yeah,
there's the Skinamarink. Um,
yeah.
anyway, yeah. So I think that's a great answer, and I love that we're seeing a lot of like new horror experiments. I guess I would say like Skinamarink. I think it was like something nothing we've ever seen.
Hmm.
And then to think about what films like that will be inspired from those
Yeah,
films, what will come. So I think it's
yeah.
very exciting. But anyway, let's go right into this or that. So ask you two things. You just pick one or the other. In most cases, there isn't a right or wrong answer, and usually it's kind of fun. So let's see. So the first one, I kind of went with a love and horror theme with Dead Alive or Return of the Living Dead Part 3.
Return of the Living
If you
Dead
had to
Part 3.
choose one of the best. That's like the Titanic of horror. Love in horror, I think. I love that movie.
Hank,
Yeah.
yeah, just carry on. I just need to plug in before I'm going to lose power.
Oh, sure. Okay, okay. Let's
Okay.
see. The next one, I can give you a second if you want.
No, no, carry on. It's
All right. Okay, the next one is take a cruise to the Caribbean or go on a resort vacation.
Go on a resort vacation. I hate cruises.
Yeah, I hear you. That would be my pick too. So see, there's an example, I think, depending on your preference, where there is a right and wrong answer. Um, okay, the next one, kind of going back to the love theme a little bit. Romantic and doomed couple, like in Crimson Peak, or survive together in a quiet place.
Crimson Peak.
That's a good movie. Um, okay, would you rather binge watch Creep Show or Tales from the Crypt?
Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, they're both so good though. Okay, vampire romance or a zombie love story?
Vampire romance.
There's more you can do with that. Let's see.
Yeah.
This is kind of funny. Doomed power couples, Jack and Wendy in The Shining, or Billy and Sydney in Scream.
Jack and Wendy.
Yeah, you have to go with The Shining. I was trying to think of what's even comparable, right, with Jack and Wendy. But anyway, creature feature or mad scientists.
Mad scientist.
That's more fun. All right, let's see. The Shape of Water or Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
Such a smart film, right? With the robot and the
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
I didn't see
As
that ending
opposed
coming.
to, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. Let's see. Apocalyptic horrors or classic slashers.
Both.
Both. I know that's tough. Yeah. Maybe
I
the next
can't
one you might
choose. I
say
can't choose.
you
Sorry.
can't choose. That's fine. Well, try this one. Body or cosmic horror.
Body.
Yeah, Cronenberg, of course, the master of body horror. And then
Hmm.
lastly, Jaws or Halloween 78, the original Halloween.
Jaws.
Yeah, Jaws usually gets all the love, but yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Well, I'm a big fan of the plausible. Jaws is
Yes, of
plausible.
course. Yes, that's true. Michael
Halloween's not.
Myers, not so much.
Not so
Yeah.
much.
Not so much.
Yeah,
Well, George,
yeah,
this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
a
It
pleasure.
has been a true honor. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished, and I can't wait to see what you do
Oh yeah,
next.
did you know that I'm getting another award at Fantasia this summer?
Oh, say more.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exciting.
It's the Canadian Trailblazer Award.
Hell yeah. Well deserved.
Yeah,
Very
yeah, yeah.
cool.
So it's
Very
all
cool.
it's all that stuff because I was one of the first to shoot English and French on
Yes,
a regular basis. So it
that's
was a lot of
amazing.
fun. So that's what I'm
What's
doing. I'm going to that Fantasia and
that's coming up this summer?
on
And
tours.
do you have any other projects or films you're working on that you could share?
Uh, right now, we're looking at a television series called Graveyard Shift that we're kind of developing. We're still a little further away, but be happy to
Okay,
share
okay.
it with you when the time comes.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have you on
And
again to chat about that for
yeah,
sure.
and my medieval action adventure miniseries has just been released in Europe called Rise of the Raven. Um, so
Excellent.
that should hopefully, if everything works out right, be available for streaming in North America by the fall.
Excellent. That's very exciting. I'll put it, if you've got a poster, any artwork, I'll flash it across the screen.
All right.
Well, George, like I said, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And if let's see, if you are watching, like and subscribe because it helps our channel. And lastly, one last time, thank you so much, George.
You're very welcome. All my best to
Awesome.
everybody.
Of course. Bye, everyone.